Hey guys, what's up? It's Sean, Autotopia LA, and we're back down here at Superformance. For any of you wondering, are we getting paid by them? No, we're not. We come down here because we love to shoot what these guys are doing. And today we're gonna dig into where it all started. The Mark II 289 Cobra, which is a completely different car than the Cobra that we shot recently, the 427 car. Very different. Doug's gonna walk us through all the details, the history of this car, and yes, I'm gonna get to take it for a drive. So we're gonna dig in and do our thing. So hold on, because here we go, man. Hey guys, we're back here with Doug at Superformance. This is where it all started. This is the 289 Cobra.
The OG Cobra.
Right, which I love right from the get-go. For anyone that doesn't know, these are called AC Cobras, which
doesn't stand for Adam Carolla.
Right.
Well, let's get that clear.
Or Alice Cooper, or any of the other ones.
We love Adam, and Adam loves Cobras, but no,
yeah.
AC Cars in England is where this all started.
Right.
Yeah.
And the quick of it, for you guys that don't know, was there was AC Cars. They were kind of not doing great at the moment, right?
Bristol Engine Company did a straight six engine for this car. It was a little English sports car.
Right.
And they styles up pre-World War II design, and they stopped making the engines, and they needed an engine. And Carroll Shelby, by this time, had retired from racing because of his heart condition, so he wanted to create his own sports car. And so he was looking for a chassis to put an engine in.
Right.
And he found out about AC cars, and he loved it, like little lightweight car. I'll get a big American V8 and shove it in there, and I'll make my own sports car.
Right.
Because he first went to Chevrolet, and they turned him down because they didn't want something that was going to compete with the Corvette. They're like, we got the Corvette, we don't need another sports car. So that's when he went to Lee Iacocca, who was at the time running Ford.
Right.
And you know, the famous meeting was Carroll's in there asking for engines, and after 5 minutes, Lee Iacocca says, give this guy some engines and get him out of here before he bites somebody. You can see Lee with a cigar in his mouth.
Right, totally.
Yeah.
So that's where this car starts, is you got a body and a chassis, and then you get a motor, and Carroll throws it all together and goes out and crushes everyone with this car.
Yeah. It's amazing. And start out with the 260. I mean, we call it the 289 Cobra because that's what it's best known as. But like the first 70 cars got 260s. It was actually, I believe it was a truck motor that Ford had developed for Canada. And that was the first 70 engines were all 260s. So if somebody out there has a Mark II Cobra with a 260 in it, you don't have to worry about money for the rest of your life.
Big dollars.
That's big dollars.
Yeah. So radical differences on this from the 420. I mean, I'm looking at a bunch of the 427 cars
different
here.
Different chassis, different body. But like, you know what I think is pretty cool? Is Carroll did the same thing that we do here now at Superformance and Shelby Legendary Cars. He started with a roller with no engine, just like we have sitting over here, and popped the engine in. So we're doing the exact same thing that Carroll did right from the beginning.
Right. And obviously one of the radical differences, you see the car is a lot smaller. It doesn't have the big hefty flares, which I personally love. We don't have the side pipes. Exhaust is coming out the rear, right?
That's right. Full undercar exhaust. I love the wire wheels, man.
Dig the wire wheels on this.
15-inch Dayton wire wheels. And again, you know, they call it the slab side, is the nickname it got, because as opposed to the more voluptuous shape of the 427 car, this is pretty flat down the sides.
It is.
Yeah.
It's funny because you look at these, the 427 cars, and they don't look very British to me, I'll say. Like they look actually very American to me. This looks very British.
Yeah, it does.
This borders MG, it borders old Jag. It really does fall into that category. You can see where it started from. And
especially when you've got it painted British Racing green.
I mean, come on, of course.
Yeah.
What is it making power-wise? What do you guys make out of the 289?
This, you know, the most popular engine now for the cars we produce is just a straight 302. So like a Ford Performance 302 that puts out about 340 horsepower. And again, you're talking about a 2,400 pound or so car with a 5-speed in it. I would daily this car in a heartbeat. It's so comfortable and so much fun to drive. But you're talking about a completely different suspension. I mean, this is old school, transverse leaf springs front and rear.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so it's got to feel very different.
It's a little bouncy, but man, it corners so good. It's literally just like point and squirt.
Can we look underneath the hood here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, okay.
So you can see the transverse leaf spring going across under here. Same setup in the back. We got the Harrison expansion tank for the coolant system. That's a throwback to what they used back in the day.
Okay.
And then just your straight 302.
Right.
So you're still going to get the same experience as someone did in 1962 when Shelby launched this car.
Wow. Okay. I love the simplicity of the cockpit too.
Yeah, you've got the original Stewart Warner gauges, and you know it's a very basic car. This one's, I would say, highly optioned because it has the cold air vents, just like we had in the Mark III for the footwells, and then you also have heater defroster, and this one comes with a soft top, side windows, tonneau cover. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see it with. It shows how much I don't know these cars really, because I'm so used to seeing the roll bar,
right?
Or sometimes a dual roll bar. So the early car didn't have one.
No, they were street cars, you know, and he had to race the car. He had to do a homologation of 100 cars to show he was producing cars. And there's the old story about he really only had like 4 or 5 cars, and he just kept repainting them every 2 weeks to make it look like there were more. But you know, you've got the street bumpers on this car, front and back. So you've got the bumperettes with the hoops, and then you know you also have a grill, which no other Cobra has a grill in it. So if you come around to the front, you've actually got a little egg crate grill. And the 427 cars have no grill. The 289 FIA race cars, which we'll have to do an episode on, they removed the grill to get the airflow for the higher horsepower engine.
But for the street car, that's what they did, which makes sense.
And it's just such a classic look. Did I mention, like, I really want to have this car for a daily driver?
You made it pretty clear. I'm curious to drive it, obviously, because I'm like, I mean, you guys, any of you guys that saw the episode, it wasn't bullshit on my side. You guys saw me fall in love with that silver and black car, which is still driving me nuts that I can't quite afford it. By the way, I am open to, you know, maybe Cobra donations.
A little GoFundMe.
I think yes, I think we could do this.
So it's such a tiny car, right? People go, oh my gosh, but you'll see when you get in, like, it's a very roomy car. It's as roomy as the 427 car, even though it's so small. But like, you open the trunk, look, we got a lot of junk in our trunk here. But without that in there, you've got a ton of room in the trunk.
Yeah, definitely. It's fun to see the evolution too of the car, how it went from this to these over here. Well, with all this talking about the sounds and the driving experience, what's your line?
It's time to stop looking and get cooking.
There we go.
Here we go.
All right, you guys, here we go for a cruise in the OG Cobra. Every time I get in one of these Superformance cars, you really feel like you're transported back in time, even though it is a modern car as far as when it's produced. It's a tighter cockpit in certain respects to the 427 car, but you also have tons of power. I mean, we're in the mid 300 horsepower range in a car that weighs 2,400 pounds. Much quieter. I hear the wind more than I do the exhaust, whereas in the 427 car with the side pipes, you know, it's that sucker, you have the exhaust at your ear the entire time. But this is where it all began, for sure. It is just cool. It's really cool. Man, I look cool in anything. Well, except for maybe a Volt. Definitely a different driving experience, you guys. I mean, besides less power, well, I guess that's one of the big things I'm noticing right away is I guess I got so intoxicated by that 427 car with that mass amount of power. But this thing, you can feel it. It'll get up and move for sure. Buttery transmission. I love the shift on it. I forgot to ask Doug, but I think everything they use is Tremec. I just love the simplicity of this car, the gauge cluster, the old Stewart Warner gauges. if you want really the early heritage of what the Shelby Cobra was about, that's what this car is. But there's plenty of car there, there's no question. I mean, that's third gear, just a roll on, and we're off to the races. Gotta admit, I'm just knocked out by what the Superformance guys do. They give us the ability to be in a car that represents so much wonderful history in motorsports without having to be ridiculously wealthy. You know, this brings us back to a time, and what Shelby did for motorsports is, I mean, he changed the game, let's be honest. Him, Peter Brock, all the folks that were involved, it was game changing. Feels solid, planted on the road. It definitely feels old. This isn't like, you know, a coil over 4-link, yada, yada, yada. It's not that. But, I mean, a roll on in fourth gear, you know, I mean, in a quick second, I'm up at, probably shouldn't say the speeds I'm hitting, but bitchin' little car, man, no question about it. Really cool little car. My initial response is I like the 427 car better because it is so radical and aggressive. And this is, at the same time, what a wonderful driving experience this is. So I'm at 3,200 RPMs, fourth gear, 65, roll on. I mean, I'm not even, just amazing. Quickly, you're up at 100 miles an hour. You know, I don't mind that I don't have hair, but right now with this car, I wish I had hair to be blowing in the wind. Wouldn't that be kick-ass? Cool driving experience, man. You know, call it a kit, call it a replica, call it a tribute, whatever word you need to put to it to feel comfortable with what these are. They are extraordinary cars. I'd love to hear from you guys, considering now that we've shot a couple of their GT40s, the 427 Cobra, the Lingenfelter Grand Sport Corvette, now this car. I'd love to hear from you guys. Which one do you like the best? You know, if you were gonna pull the trigger on any one of these, which one calls to you? I know for me, at this point, gotta be honest, in order that I would buy them if I like all of a sudden had a lot more money to work with than I currently do, I'd go with that silver with black stripe 427 Cobra first. That car, I just fell completely in love with it. Next would be the Mark II GT40. And then probably one that I left out of the mix is the Daytona Coupe. How could I leave that one out? But that would be third in line for me. That Daytona Coupe didn't quite speak to me as much as the 427 Cobra and the GT40. But that would be the next one in line for me, would be that Daytona Coupe. It definitely gets up and moves, there's no question. It doesn't have the holy shit factor that the 427 Cobra does. But this car definitely gets up and goes. It's plenty of power for what this little car is. All right, you guys, that is it for our shoot of this wonderful Mark II Cobra. Completely and totally different driving experience from the 427 car. And every bit is extraordinary. It's planted, it's solid, it has plenty of power. It's much quieter than the 427 car with the exhaust coming out the rear versus the side. I mean, couldn't be more different, and at the same time, it is just a wonderful experience. I love what these guys do. I love that they're giving us the ability to appreciate what was such an important part of motorsports history at a pretty affordable price. Speaking of affordable prices, let's throw that donation to Sean, because Sean needs a 427 Cobra badly. Now I'm just messing with you guys. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. As always, man, I had a blast doing what we do, and I thank you for supporting what we do and watching the channel. Truly do appreciate it. And I will see you in the next episode. All right, man. Later.